Good evening. Well, it was budget day today, and most of the excitement was killed off really because uh, most of the budget was leaked, and usually there's a bit of information leaking here, there, and everywhere. But this time around, I think there was some kind of a conversation somewhere in the government to give out more information quickly for whatever reason. But overall, for property investors, that wasn't that much there, in my opinion. And I thought there would be more. So there was a lot of talk about some kind of reform or changes to inheritance tax, capital gains tax, but we've heard none of that, whether that's being delayed or postponed to next year or the year after, or maybe post the next general election. Time will tell. So there isn't that much there. I mean, most of the other stuff you'll pick up on the media. So I'm going to focus on property and share some of the things with you. The first one and the main one I think you should pay attention to is inflation will increase to 4% next year, and simply what that means is the cost of living will go up, which isn't good news. The other big thing that the government are doing in view of cladding and also what happened at Grenfell is that they are introducing a new tax for developers, which basically will work for larger developers who are making 25 million plus in profits, and they'll have to pay 4% towards cladding remediation. Now, most of the people listening to this probably don't make 25 million pounds in profit, but it's still something that you ought to know about because you might aspire to get there one day soon. We've got this big challenge, obviously, with the housing crisis. Successive governments have failed to adequately address this for one reason or another. I don't think it's that difficult to address. It just needs the right will and determination. Because I mean, we've got this issue about affordable homes that the government talks about on a regular basis. Yet, in my role as a counsellor, when I'm talking to people in Peterborough and elsewhere, most people can't afford the affordable homes. So the average salary in the UK is about £31,000. The average house price is about £271,000. So based on that, people can't afford homes, and because they can't even save up for the deposit. Because if you're earning £31,000 and you're paying rent, for example, and you've got other expenditure, there's minimal scope for that person to save money for a deposit unless they rely on bank of mum and dad or elsewhere, and even that's not easy nowadays. Now, if an affordable home is cheaper, uh, it's not still affordable. So I think the whole criteria needs to change in order for more people to get on the property ladder, because I know a lot of people aspire to own their own home, and right now that's not happening. So the government's investing or injecting 11.5 billion to build 180,000 affordable homes. I don't think that those affordable homes are going to go to the people who want to buy a home. So I don't think it's going to achieve the desired impact. Alongside that, I think building 180,000 homes isn't enough anyway. I think we need to do at least 3 times that, if not more. So that whole piece about affordable homes and how that works needs to change significantly in order to address the housing crisis. Alongside that, the government are allocating 1.8 billion to buy 1,500 hectares of brownfield site. Uh, we don't have the detail that usually comes out after about 48 hours. So I will look at that and share that with you. But I assume that's to basically build more homes and lock up or unlock more opportunities. Alongside that, something of interest to those who are running service accommodation and are paying business rates. I know some don't pay business rates because they're paying council tax. But if you are paying business rates, then you'll get a 50% discount, or you'll only pay 50% business rates, which is good. I think that that's going to help revitalize that particular industry, and it's going to help. Something else of benefit to service accommodation operators is that the annual investment allowance, so this basically allows you to accelerate your capital allowances, was increased to 1 million a couple of years ago, and it was due to finish at the end of December. And the Chancellor's extended that to March 2023, and I think that's a really good move. So basically, let's say you buy a service accommodation unit or a commercial property to operate as service accommodation, you may be able to claim some capital allowances when you purchase the property, and you ought to do those checks thoroughly with your solicitor and a tax expert, because a lot of people miss out on those capital allowances. Above and beyond that, you then refurbish, redevelop that property into service accommodation units. So you've got a second amount or lot of capital allowances. And usually you can write off capital allowances depending on which category they fall into at a certain percentage, the highest for the general pool being 18%. But if you want to use the annual investment allowance, what that means is you can write off all of your capital expenditure in that year up to £1 million. So if somebody, let's say, has spent £200,000 on capital allowances in a particular year, they can write off the entire £200,000 in the first year within their AIA, annual investment allowance, and that might create a taxable loss for them in their accounts, but they won't have to pay any tax, and they can carry forward the taxable loss and use that against their profits next year. If you don't use the £200,000 and you only claim a percentage of it, or you don't claim any of it because you've not made any profit in that year, then next year you'll only be able to claim a smaller percentage depending on the category that your capital allowance falls into. And in the general pool, like I said, it's going to be at 18%. So I think the AIA is a really good relief, and I'm pleased that the Chancellor has extended that to March 2023. But other than that, apart from the general things that governments do when they release budgets, there isn't that much more I can share with you in terms of the impact or the effect on property developers or investors. Now, some of you may see that as welcome news because over the last, since about 2012 to 2013, pretty much every year, property investors have had some kind of a negative impact from government, whether it's Section 24, wear and tear relief, stamp duty, land tax, or other measures that have come into effect to make it really difficult for investors. So at least this time around, you don't have that particular problem or challenge. So in a way, I guess you can see this to some extent as good news, which is really good, I guess. We've got some comments here. Martin, thank you for joining in. Martin says, thank goodness for the 50% discount on business rates. I assume, Martin, you either run service accommodation or you have a business premises where you are actually operating from. A question from MBA. Hi, MBA. Has the date changed by which you need to pay CGT? Yep. For residential properties, it changed and you need to pay it within 30 days, which previously was when you paid it when you filed your tax return. That's changed now, so you need to pay it within 30 days. Otherwise, you get a penalty. So you need to make sure you let your accountant know, and then they will file the return for you. That's important. Otherwise, the penalties will mount up, and obviously, that's not good for you or your bank balance. We don't have any other questions, so this is going to be a shorter live than usual. People usually send in questions, but I've not had any questions this week, so either people have been quite busy or they've not got around to asking questions. But feel free to either email or send me questions through social media, which people usually send at least 3 to 5 questions every week, or feel free to tune in and then we can answer those questions for you while I'm here. Martin says, yes, we have 7 properties that we use as service accommodation. Yeah, fantastic, Martin. So obviously, if you're paying business rates, then you'll qualify because that is extended to retail, hospitality, and leisure. So that's good news for you and all the other operators. I am running a webinar in, I think, a couple of weeks' time, and I'll put the link up there for you. It's absolutely free, and the link is bit.ly/Shaz webinar. And I will talk you through in great detail of how I did a commercial conversion, which was a no money down deal, and how I created a good amount of rental income. Obviously, over time, capital growth. When we refinanced, I was able to get an additional £50,000 in cash on refinancing. and obviously we got all of our money back, including all the costs. So it was kind of a game changer deal for me, because that was my first no money down deal. So I'll talk you through all the pros and cons and the challenges I faced, and I'll happily answer your questions on that particular webinar. So if you're interested in commercial conversions, or you're interested in doing no money down, then that's a webinar that you don't want to miss. You got nothing to lose. It's absolutely free. It's just a different way of sharing and engaging content with you, because quite a few people have asked me to do webinars as opposed to just doing live videos. So if you're free on that day, join me. It'll be a pleasure. And until next week, take care. Bye for now.